And what's cracking, you guys? Welcome to the Mango Grove. I would ask you, how is everyone doing? But, well, now's not the time. I got Sean here with me as well.
Now's
Sean, how's it going?
precisely the time, Krisha. Now's precisely the time you ask people.
Well, okay, how's
Honestly.
everyone doing? Also, guys, let's do a quick mic check before we begin. Just let us know if you can hear us a-okay. How's it going, Avi? Hen, you're awake. Bumblebee, Steve XRP. XRP is, we're going to be talking about that one today as well. But yeah, give us a thumbs up on the audio. That way we can get started. There's a lot to unwrap today with the carnage. Let's talk about if this continues. And it's a good thing we got Sean here as well. Okay, sounds good. Eliza, how's it going? I was reading your chat, by the way, on Discord, and props to Eliza, guys. She's got the right mindset right now.
FYI, guys, Krisha and I was supposed to be out on a breakfast date today. We had planned it. We're like, this weekend, we're going to take time to ourselves. But here we are with you guys because we love you guys so much. So much. We're not going to miss out on a market jump for a freaking breakfast. No way.
I know, right?
Krisha was a bit bummed out, guys. So give her a hand. Give her like love and kisses.
Right now, I need to be giving
Krisha
everyone
missing
else
out on her
love.
pancakes.
Okay.
That's how much she cares about it, guys.
I love breakfast, guys. What can I say? I'm a breakfast girl. Okay, let's jump right into
when we woke up in the middle of the flight, and the air hostess comes up to her politely and asks her if she's ready for dinner. The first thing Krisha asks for was pancakes. She's like, "Do you guys have pancakes?"
Well, they have pancakes.
Oh my
God.
god!
So why not, right? They had blueberry pancakes on the menu. But let's get into what's actually important here. Sean, can you see my screen? Are you watching? Are you able to see everything a-okay?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Do you know what this is? This is the liquidation heat map. So I'm looking at 24-hour data on the amount of liquidations that we saw across the board. And Sean, I believe you had a data point for me this time around. This is one of the biggest market liquidations since 2021.
Something like that, yeah. So almost half a decade we haven't seen something this big, which is surprising. I don't know what played out while we were on vacation, Krisha, but it seems like a lot of leverage built up in the system, especially on altcoins, since we left. But more on that later. I'll let you continue this.
So we're going to be talking about the altcoins. Yes, we're going to be covering all of your favorites like XRP and stuff. Yes, the altcoins got absolutely freaking annihilated. The main question, now that I have Sean here as well, and by the way, guys, since you guys are here right now, if you have any questions, I want you guys to write it down. Don't wait for the end of the stream to ask your question. Okay, Sean, as far as this, you're right in that when you see these crazy drawdowns, let's actually get into a chart. Now, this is Bitcoin. In fact, I want to get into Bitcoin USDT because Bitcoin on Binance, the Bitcoin USDT pairing on Binance, actually got all the way down to $100,000. So this right now is looking like a spinner, but we saw crazy freaking liquidations unfold across the board, predominantly on the altcoins. And this right here is a good show of that. We got $5.36 billion worth of liquidations on Bitcoin, followed by Ethereum at $4.42 billion. We had Sol, others, even XRP actually, Sean. Okay, I have so much to say about XRP, but $707 million of XRP liquidations on the long end. And there's more data here. It says in the past 24 hours, 1.6 million traders were liquidated. The total liquidations comes in at $19.31 billion of liquidations. Now, this is something that Sean spoke about in terms of leverage in the system, right? And I want you guys to listen in for those of you who are new to this world of trading or you're still sort of navigating your way around. When it comes to liquidations, right? Prices, when you're long an asset, you often have a liquidation point, right? If prices come down to hit your liquidation point because there is an event, right? What is the action that happens there? Right? When you've bought an asset and you get liquidated, you get force liquidated, the action happening there is a sell action, right? So the system automatically forces a sell on you. Now, it's not just you. Think of you and then hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands of other people also getting forced liquidated. That just adds more selling pressure. And on more selling pressure, you have more of a meltdown. And that meltdown then causes another huge amount of stop losses or liquidations to hit once again. That's how we have these waterfalls of not waterfalls, these crazy wicks to the downside. It's because of these liquidations on liquidations on liquidations, and it's all like forced sell tapping to the next one, tapping to the next one. So it's like a massive domino effect that happens, okay, that leads to these crazy wicks to the downside. Sean, the question that I have for you is, what do you think of this entire event? Would you call this noise, or is this something that people should be watching out for? Do you think this could be a market turn?
You guys know my bias, right? I'm keeping it extremely simple, in that as long as we're holding levels, there's nothing to be concerned about. And the reason I'm hesitating while I answer is because I understand that lots of altcoins have like broken levels, but the truth is those altcoins had already broken levels. Many of those altcoins were never looking good to begin with. They were always looking shaky, and you had to play them. If you were playing them, you had to play them with that in mind, that hey, these things could very well dump, and I need to be ready for the dump, either to exit or to take advantage of those dumps. When pertaining to Bitcoin, I don't see this as anything but an opportunity to play a missed entry opportunity back in August, right? That we were talking about how, hey, Bitcoin might be dumping leading into the first 2 weeks into September. And many folk who did not take that opportunity, in my opinion, this was a second chance. This is a second chance because, okay, guys, none of you can, if you guys have been watching Mango since 2022 at the very least, none of you should be surprised with this move specifically on Bitcoin, because I was very redundant on the idea that, hey, when we get to our targets of $100,000 to $120,000, get ready to see Bitcoin move its entire price that it is today. Okay, now there's a lot of words in there. So what do I mean by that? Back then, guys, Bitcoin was sitting at around $20,000. Okay, and I was telling the audience, get ready for Bitcoin to move in a single day its entire price that is at today. So get ready for Bitcoin to move $20,000 in a single day, right? It's coming, and it's going to happen multiple times once we cross $100,000. So this is your first big warning, okay? Your warning signal. You guys got to see it in a very controlled fashion, in my opinion, because guys, this is just the beginning. Okay, you're going to see Bitcoin dump $50,000. That's when you really get concerned. Okay, when we see Bitcoin go from like $200,000 to $150,000, we got to take a step back and be like, wait a minute, are we breaking levels? Okay, we could do that and not break levels, and that's going to be tough to deal with, right? And we'll still have to stay in the trend and manage taking profits, etc., around that volatility. But this here was just a warning shot to get you guys ready for what is to come, because what is to come is going to be far uglier. I'm talking about Bitcoin specifically. Okay, for those of you who have kept it Mango and kept your position sizing at around your portfolio allocation around 90 to 95% Bitcoin, or hell, even if you're around 75% to 85% Bitcoin on your portfolio and the rest altcoin, you're still fine, right? You're still fine. And if you're letting this scare you on Bitcoin, when you are sitting at around 80% allocation Bitcoin, it's going to get worse, guys. It's going to get worse up at higher numbers. And I'm still looking at higher numbers. You guys can probably tell from the way I'm speaking, right? So is there anything to worry about on Bitcoin? No, absolutely not. We're still holding the weekly. Hell, we're not even lost the weekly dynamic, Isha. Yeah, and the weekly dynamic is
Yeah.
not an invalidation level for us at all. Okay. If we
Yeah.
lose the weekly dynamic, I'm still going to be like, okay, it's just something now we need to be sitting at the edge of our seats and watch the bi-weekly. But this is just an opportunity to buy at a price that we were supposed to buy a while ago, anyways. The fall
Resnick, you're
coin, that's a different story.
he's sounding so angry.
Who, me?
Listen.
I'm sounding angry?
No, not you. I was just reading the chat. Resnick from the chat sounds very angry. Nobody's an oracle here. People are going to come to you. When we put out analysis, we're looking at the high probability moves, right? And our money is where our mouth is right now. So, yeah, I mean, we're still holding.
Let me address this.
Let me just also show comments on stage. There's so much that I've not. Okay, there we go.
Can you share that comment on stage?
Yeah.
That is such a.
Yeah, I just what I'll do is. Yeah, it is. So, and I'm pretty sure, like, oh no, not bad.
Let me read it out for folk. Resnick over here says, both of you never said that it will go down like hell. The only vlogger on the web who has effing balls to tell the okay. Listen, one of the things that is Mango Principles is that we don't know what price will ever do. There are two inflection points, okay, that we play within, and everything that happens in between is chaos. What we give you guys all the time is an invalidation level. And remember, guys, that is how you're supposed to play the markets, knowing that you don't know. If you think that people know exactly what is going to happen, if you think that this reminds me of someone in the Grove who had a very, very similar mindset, who accused us of not telling the community exactly what price is going to do, even though we knew what price was going to do. Guys, we never know what price is going to do. We play within the two inflection points. Everything in between is complete chaos. Okay. And as long as price is staying within those invalidation levels, you have to play within that chaos. If you are not managing your leverage and your position sizing to allow for that chaos, then that shows that you have to take a step back and educate yourself a little bit more on how to manage your positions. Okay, and we can talk about that. We will be talking about that in today's live stream. So, Kusha, just turn on the bi-weekly dynamic quickly since you have such a beautiful chart open up over there.
And also, Kushan, I want to give you props. Can I just say something just before you continue your thought? I don't know. You guys should have watched Sean's live stream from just a couple of days ago. In fact, he mentioned a certain signature of Bitcoin's breakouts where it breaks out. You'd often look for a retest down into that breakout level, but instead it sort of comes down even further to tap in. It breaks up and breaks back down. So he even warned you about that. He told you that wait for that opportunity. Do not just jump the gun. So yeah, props on that, because that was a very important signature that you actually highlighted in that previous live stream.
Guys, I will never, ever, 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 ever tell you guys that price will do this for sure. Okay, and you better play it this way. I will never do that. You guys have been watching me for a while. You guys know that I never tell you guys exactly what price is going to do, because that'd be very cocky and arrogant of me, right? One of the core Mango principles over here is that we don't know what price is going to do. We're not going to try to time tops or bottoms. What I will tell you is what I am doing based on what I think the probability times win magnitude is, because that's all we can do, right? Put on high EV trades and hope and play for those big wins over the long term, right? So with that being said, one of the things that we kept talking about over here at Mango throughout these years now is the idea that when we see breakouts, you can have better EV, better edge by simply allowing the breakouts to break back into the range. Okay, it has been a repeated scenario over and over and over again. Every time we have wanted the breakouts to continue, right, and to play the breakouts, very rarely, I would say like maybe 15% of the time, has it paid off to just play the breakout? More
Yeah.
often than not, you're better off either saying, okay, you know what, I'm going to buy the breakout, fully knowing that this could break back into the range. So I'm going to position size lower, right? But I don't want to risk price not coming back into range and then running away without me, right? So in that situation, when you're playing the breakout, it's more so a risk management trade where you're like, I need to get into position. I'm not in position. I just got to buy here. But what I can do now is reduce size, okay? Or if you're already in position, you're better off just waiting for price to break back into the range because you can add to your position on a high low. And again, Bitcoin has done that, right? So many, like even BNB has done that, Kusha. You see a nice impulsive move out and then back in. Every asset that we've been trading has been putting those higher lows back into the range. And that's all we've been doing at Mango, playing the strong coins. So
It's a wild time. All right, so Sean, you asked for the biweekly dynamic. So
Mhm.
this honestly,
Yeah, could you turn off the 10 SMA? I just wanted them to look at
sure
the
thing.
clean picture. And
I'm just
you
also
can
get rid of
even
this. There we
can
go.
even remove the new feature that we have over here, the start bidding and end bidding zone. And by the way, like it's not even hit the start bidding zone yet on the biweekly. It's
I
ridiculous.
know, right?
Okay. So this has been the core trend that we've asked you guys to follow in regards to invalidation. And we're nowhere close to it, right? We've not even come down to test it. So is there anything to worry about in regards to Bitcoin? Okay, and have we moved the goalpost in regards to the indicator and the time frame? We haven't done, like, we have stayed consistent since 2023 on this indicator and this time frame, and we've been giving you guys the levels too constantly. So even if you don't have the indicator, you have it through the daily videos. Oh, speaking of which, by the way, guys, to make life easier for when volatility does pick up in the future, like days, like events like this, we have now begun a newsletter called Mango Juice. So that way, instead of us having to come online and do a video or live stream for you guys to give you guys the key invalidation levels, if price breaks a level, etc., we can just do it via a quick email to you guys. So please join the please sign up for the letter at themangoway.com/mango juice. Avi, if you're in here, please just link the
Yeah,
newsletter. Oh, there
I'll
you
get
go.
there.
There you
You
go. You
did.
found it.
Good job.
Right.
Good stuff.
So this is going to make it easier for us to just quickly let you guys know, hey, everything's fine, or hey, everything's not fine. Right. You know, this is something that we need to keep an eye on. This is a critical level that we have lost. That time will come. It's not here. We're nowhere close to it. But yeah, Kush, just give them the levels for the bi-weekly dynamic, the upper level and the lower
Absolutely.
level.
Okay, this is it, guys. Okay, comes in from around $100,000, going down to $94,000.
There you go.
There we go.
Far away, guys, far away.
Sort of. Yeah, sorry, it's 101,000 going down to 94,500.
Studio Club says, I think we can all agree that no one saw an altcoin drop off 60 to 80% within an hour. 100%, dude. So I have a few notes over here, guys, that I want to go through this through this live stream. And something that I've been doing through my entire journey on YouTube with you guys is I've been like doing a post-mortem of my mistakes, and I'm happy to say that my mistakes have gotten better. I continue to make mistakes, and I'll continue to make mistakes for the rest of my life, because every time you solve a problem, it opens up new problems, right? You're going to see that. But I remember back in 2019 too, I did a specific video, 3 big mistakes I made, etc., etc., etc. So I want to continue that that trend, or that whatever.
Sean, if you want to also share your chart while you talk about this, you can, eh? Just a heads up.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I don't have any charts up at the moment. I'm looking at your screen. So I
Okay,
don't
cool.
have all my mistakes written down at the moment because I have to think about that. Think about them. They won't as obvious this time because I have to really, really look for them. So we can go through them in a bit. I'll let Kusha continue her presentation though for now.
Okay. So maybe if you want to talk about it, you can sort of flesh it out, and I can sort of share your screen, because I think
Okay,
it's very
so
important to have
the
post-mortem
mistake, the one big
mortem up
mistake
here.
that I can think
Yeah.
of right off the bat is that I did not reset my stink bids once I got back from vacation. So it was some, this is what I mean, by the way, guys, when I say solving one problem leads to a brand new set of problems, right? And back in the day in 2019, 2020, we talked about this, right? In a different video where I was like, um, if I'm leaving my desk or my workplace for a prolonged period of time, I need to remove all my bids, reset. This is something we talk about in seed too. We reset all our exchanges, right? Clean slate if we are leaving for a prolonged period. And one of the things that I do is I clean out all my stink bids. You leave these deep bids on exchanges in case you get that massive event. It could happen either because of an event like this or because of just a freak occurrence on one asset, right? We saw that happen on Ethereum 2017. Coinbase, GDAX had a massive, massive liquidation cascade. Ethereum went down to a crazy price, and you want to be able to take advantage of those events. So you set those stink bids. But I cleared out all my stink bids before leaving for vacation. Now I've been back on vacation for like 3-4 days. I've been back now, and I did not reset those bids, and I missed out on some really good opportunities because of that. So that was a big mistake on my end, because some of these trades would have been instant winners, right? Even though these assets dipped far below my entry price, right? Had I got those stink bids in, they would have instantly turned the entire trade into a winner, right? Because that's how much they bounced. So that was a big mistake on my end that I need to fix. And this is what I mean by, you solve one problem, which is, hey, remember to clean out all of your bids, etc., before you leave. But it opened up a brand new problem, right? Which is, hey, when you come back, don't be complacent. In that small window where you're like getting back into the groove, etc., the event may take place, and you're like, oh man, I was here to place my bids, and I did not, right? So as soon as you get back, set everything again, right? Don't markets don't wait for you to be ready.
Amen. And I think Sui was one of those
Yeah, so
crazy dumps. And Sean, I'm looking at this honestly, guys. Honestly, okay, let's just look at the dump, okay, the volatility that we saw kick in on Bitcoin. Zoom out. If you look at all the future sort of all the past events that led to a very similar meltdown in Bitcoin. And if I had to ask you what happened there, you would not be able to tell me. You would not. So this is to say, just follow your TA right now, okay? Don't get too fixated on the event itself and try to form a bias based on, hey, XYZ is happening in the world, so it must be just doom. Okay, it's all doom and gloom, and I'm just gonna follow that based on XYZ event. Do not do that. Okay, historically, you're looking back at price action, you're gonna find a multitude of events that took place that led to crazy price action. If I had to ask you what was the event, you would not be able to tell me. But what you will notice in those moments is that the TA kept you on the right side of the market. So once again, fall back onto price action, fall back onto your objective indicators to keep you on the right side of Bitcoin right now. So biweekly dynamic is still intact. $101,000 going down to $94,000, and this has kept us on the right side of this entire bull run so far. You can just look at it. Look at the track record so far. All right, so we're not going to fade this system because of this one event that sort of triggered this volatility. That being said, now it is the weekend, markets are closed. I think the number one question that people have right now, Sean, is do we see this continue on the Monday open? Right? Do we see another cascade, another dip down into maybe say $100,000? What are the odds that we get down to that biweekly dynamic support? Because from where prices at right now to that range, okay, that's another 10% to the downside, okay, and that's only top of the range. The bottom of the range is going to be a good 15% to the downside. So what are the chances of that? And we all know that if Bitcoin sort of starts ticking down, you can see a bit of a cascade onto the altcoins as well. So that's something to watch out for. But as far as the probability is concerned, Sean, do you think that this continues into the Monday Open? Well, what are the chances of that? Like, how are you thinking about this?
I think that's the wrong question.
Okay. So what would be the right question?
The right question is, how do you act based on what the market does? Because again, guys, we need to get out of this mindset that we know what's gonna happen in the short term, right? Like it's so irrelevant. It's so irrelevant because we have a long-term strategy on how we are playing the cycle. Now we are deep into the cycle, right? Uh, just a couple of days ago, I did a live stream for you guys. I laid out the plan, right? I showed you guys 3 paths that we may take in these next 6 months, right? This next 6 month cycle that we're going to be playing. And one of the paths is that, hey, Bitcoin puts in a sideways sort of movement and then breaks down, right? It's not what we want, but we got to play for it and we got to be ready for it in case it does happen, right? So we have these inflection points. We have these 2 inflection points within which there's a lot of chaos, and we can manage that chaos as long as we have a plan. So trying to say, I think that the market is going to bounce here and continue to new highs, it's not actionable. It's not actionable at all at the moment because we had the dip into key levels that you should have been buying. So if you bought those dips, you have to now play with that position, right? So what you can and should be asking is, how do I act as a market participant if the market continues, and how do I act if it doesn't continue, right? If we put in a lower high instead, reject levels and break down, right? Is Does it change my long-term outlook, or am I in the same boat and I continue looking for new highs, right? So to give you an example of a different scenario, was all the way back in 2023 when we were around 25K, and then we dumped back down to 19K. Like in that scenario, right, based on the market structure, how early we were in the cycle, I would say, you know what, if the market doesn't continue from here, it, it's not going to matter to me, right? I'm not looking for 20K to hold. I'm okay with the price coming down a tad bit lower, consolidating it a bit more, and then going up further. I don't care if the bi-weekly dynamic doesn't hold, for that matter. Like at that point, we did not care about the bi-weekly dynamic, right? We did not care about the 4-day dynamic. We were looking at the Ichimoku equilibrium trade specifically playing out, and that could have taken a tad bit longer for all we cared. We did not need it to happen immediately, right? Do you understand what I mean? Right? At that point, the plan was, we're going to see 44K. Okay, we're going to see the equilibrium trade play out as long as we put in that rounded bottoming formation, right? So we can be patient. We don't need levels to hold. At this juncture, though, right? Let's say Monday opens up, we rally, and then we reject towards the end of the day. We see a sell-off and we break a level. Okay, that's the first red flag. But is it enough? No, we still have the weekly dynamic to hold. Kusha, switch to the weekly dynamic. Guys, look at this case. You're going to switch. You guys are going to be like, oh, whoa, this is a buying opportunity. All we did was undo 1 week because of a scare. That's it. Guys, what does tariffs have to do with Bitcoin? What does tariffs have to do with Bitcoin? Nothing. Bitcoin is a global instrument. In fact, it is what people are going to look towards when they see doubt coming in from governments, right? When they start having uncertainty with government and fiscal policy, they're going to be like, okay, you know what? I need to hedge away from anything to do with the United States. In fact, I don't trust any government at the moment, because what the United States are going to do, it's going to affect all of these other countries as well, because they're all going to be scrambling. So I need something like gold. I need something like Bitcoin, because those are sovereign, independent assets. Okay, cool. So Bitcoin has nothing to do with tariffs. I'm not saying that with that idea you should just go and buy Bitcoin because of this, right? Other people might do it because they are putting on a position on their portfolio based on what just happened. But what you want to look for now is, regardless and despite this event, Bitcoin continues to go up. That's bullish. But if we see the opposite, if we see Bitcoin start dumping and losing levels despite this event, right? You should be asking the opposite. You're like, wait a minute, shouldn't people be allocating towards Bitcoin because of this? And if those people are, what's going on with the rest of the market participants? Because I drew out a spectrum of market participants for you guys, right? There are different types of market participants. Everyone buys Bitcoin for different reasons, right? Well, we might be having people buying Bitcoin because of the whole tariff situation, right? But clearly, they are getting overwhelmed by the rest of the market participants. That's telling you that there's far more sellers in the spectrum of market participants than the new buyers that are coming in, and that is a signal. So we are going to have to watch what happens right now, because it's going to be very revealing to us as to how the next 6 months goes. This, guys, is a golden opportunity to either get far more bullish with conviction for the next 6 months, or be like, okay, we are towards the tail end for reals now. I need to start scaling out my profits, etc., etc. So this is amazing, guys. We are going to be given so much information now, so much more information, because how the market reacts right now, it's going to clear out so much doubt sitting in all of our chests. All of us. We want to know how this market ends, right? Because we've been in it now for 2 to 3 years. Are we going to see that massive euphoric move across assets, across Bitcoin? Or is this the end? Well, we're going to find out very soon, right? There's nothing to worry about. You guys should be excited. You guys should be excited.
Yeah, because you're right. You're right. Because there has been like quite a bit, like think about it, guys. There's been quite a bit of apprehension, right, in terms of where this price move towards. So this is going to help clear a lot of doubts now, the information that we're about to get. So I love Sean's approach. Any questions, guys? I'm noticing the conversation right now. I am sort of following along. People are talking about XRP, primarily the altcoins. We will be covering all of that as well. But any questions with respect to Bitcoin and how we ought to be looking at, well, your next action based on what price is going to do, basically plan for all of these outcomes. I'll give it a minute before we move on to the next topic of discussion. Steve XRP says, I'm bullish, either make money or buy the bear. Oh, the bi-weekly close is also coming up. That's interesting. So as far as, Sean, this is one of the systems I revealed. Now, this is just short-term price action, what I'm about to talk about, before we move on to some of the altcoins. I'm looking at this system that I brought up to your attention in the previous Bitcoin update, daily update, the Bollinger Band and the MACD. This has been like pretty insane this cycle, right? So it's like a 2-indicator system. I'm looking at the MACD and the Bollinger. It's very simple. If the MACD is cross bearish, okay, which it is currently, and price is living underneath the Bollinger mid, that's when I can look for another move to the bottom of the Bollinger Band, which currently is coming in at around $100,000. In fact, $101,000, lining up with bi-weekly. So I'll be falling back onto the system to give me a tip on the next week. If this week, now we close this week in a day, 2 days. If this week closes underneath that Bollinger mid, which currently is swinging in at around, what is this? $112,000, $112,709. If we close underneath that, I will be looking for another sort of move down to $100,000 to tap that level. In my opinion, is that going to be a sell? Or is that going to be a buy? Well, that's bi-weekly dynamic. And so far, if there's any sort of indicator that's been an amazing buy through this entire cycle, it's the bi-weekly, because then managing your trade becomes so much more easier there. Okay, it is a cyclical level, the cyclical level. It's like the line in the sand level, right? So yeah, that's what I will be looking for, $100,000 on the tap if we lose the Bollinger mid on the weekly. So that's one thing I say, keep your eyes out on if you want to figure out if we actually come there leading into next week. Okay. Good stuff. Sean, do you have any other words on Bitcoin before we jump into XRP next?
Okay, I can quickly share a chart.
Cool beans.
I've been waiting for this specifically to put on 100% share screen. Do I
Let me
get to
know.
choose? Okay, give me a sec.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just gonna talk on this for like 2 seconds. That's it. Okay, it's up.
Okay. There we go.
So this is something else that I brought up recently in the live streams, right? Just like a couple of days ago, actually. Now, this is Bitcoin against gold, and we were looking for this trend line, this dynamic on the monthly to hold, right? Now, at the time when I brought it up, Bitcoin was sitting up over here at around 32-ish on the ratio. And I'd identified to you guys that each time Bitcoin has come onto these levels, it has defended really, really, really well, right? In fact, last time we put on a trade based on exactly this zone over here, where it came down on over to the monthly dynamic in 2024. So last year over here. And then again, we took the same trade twice, right? Basically betting on Bitcoin's outperformance against gold over here in 2024. And again, March 2025, right? Now we're doing it again, September 2025. So my birthday, Kush's birthday, and now again my birthday again, right? So what I'm gonna try to clear this chart out. I don't want to lose my drawings though, so let's just do this. Okay. Now I made it very clear to you guys that this chart is relative to gold, so it may come down and move up based on how gold is doing, not relative, not only based on how Bitcoin is doing against USD, right? So, for example, this chart may dump because gold is rallying really, really hard, or this coin may pump because gold is dumping really hard, and Bitcoin is dumping against USD, but gold is just dumping harder, right? So we have to be very careful of that. Now, the ideal situation where you want to buy this is when gold is actually doing well against USD and Bitcoin comes down onto this level. That's the best time to buy it, not because it's ultra bullish Bitcoin. It's because it's very easy to invalidate yourself, okay? Because you're expecting Bitcoin to start outperforming at that very juncture, and if it doesn't, you're like, okay, I'm out of this trade. It's not working out, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at gold and see what we can find. In fact, I have gold right over here. Let's go down. There we go. Oh, what do you know? Gold seems to be doing fantastic, right? So gold is doing amazing in this situation, and now combined, I know a lot of your macro hedge fund traders are going to be looking at this and being bearish on Bitcoin. A lot of your Twitter traders too are going to be looking at this the wrong way, in my opinion. I think this is an opportunity. I think it's an opportunity, again, not because it's ultra bullish, but because we are forecasting the bullishness to come at this juncture. And if it does not come at this juncture, well, then we play for this, right? This red path that I played out, right? Because you could look at this as a, hey, the bulls tried to push up price over here. They failed. They pushed it up one more time. They failed to see continuation, but they managed to put in the high low. Okay, cool, right? So relative to this, they put in the high low even after failing to see continuation over here. Because remember, there was a bull flag over here. But now that they attempted one more time, they put in a high low, yes, but they put in a lower high here, right? But this lower high is not confirmed until we actually break this trend line, take out this lower low. So at this juncture, if the bulls want to show that they are actually strong, they gotta put in that higher high compared to this higher low over here. So that's what we're looking for. That's what we're playing for. And this technical structure over here, giving us the psychology of the market participants at the moment, allows us to invalidate ourselves very, very, very easily if things do not play out, right? Because it's clear. It's clear what we want the market participants to show us.
So if it breaks, okay, so you're looking at Bitcoin versus gold. You're saying that, correct me, of course, if I'm wrong. Would you
Mhm.
consider this like a bear market signal if it breaks?
I would say that if this starts breaking down and confirming monthly candles underneath here, any rally on Bitcoin we should be taking as um, an opportunity to be taking profits of the cycle, right? Not all of it at the same time, of course, in one shot. But for example, if Bitcoin starts rallying, but let's say, going back to the chart area, let's say this level is lost, okay, and we're confirming candles, but on the USD chart we are making new highs. I'd be looking to take profits into those highs, right? And in 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 pieces, right? So that's how I'd be looking. I'd be looking to distribute personally,
So then, okay. So that wouldn't be
because you
good.
don't want to be. It would be the most. It'd be the easiest way, by the way, guys, to be scaling out of the market because you have a clear rule set to follow. Because you don't want to be fading Bitcoin against USD, right? Like if if Bitcoin against USD is doing fantastic, you don't want to be like, oh, I don't care what Bitcoin is doing against USD. I'm just going to be selling because of what the gold chart is doing, right? No, you want to take the fact that Bitcoin is still outperforming USD as an opportunity to get even more USD into your portfolio for the eventual dump when you can allocate to Bitcoin again and collect more Bitcoin. Does it make sense? I know it's a tad bit convoluted, but I hope that makes sense.
Guys, if you have any questions, ask. Okay, don't wait for the end of the stream. Any questions? No questions is a stupid question. Just ask. Thank you for that, Sean. I think this is a very important signal. I hope you guys are listening. Okay, take note of these things. We don't give them out as in usually we sort of post them separately, but when we sort of give you guys these amazing sort of I don't want to call them signals per se. I think signal is the wrong word. But they're really good indicators and indications of what to look out for. These are trends that have held true. So going back to our liquidation heat map, let's look at XRP now, shall we? XRP on the 24-hour liquidation heat map, we had longs, $707 million worth of longs liquidated on XRP. Okay. Actually, no, that's total liquidations. The longs were $615 million worth of longs liquidated on XRP. And quite honestly, I was actually expecting more, Sean. I don't know why, but I was expecting more people to be exposed on the long side of XRP. But hey, I think that consolidation sort of drove a lot of people out. But the more interesting thing about XRP is this. Ugh. Yeah. Right. So I was looking at that. I'm like I was looking. So the thing is that when the liquidations happened and I looked at XRP's price, um, I'm like, okay, it didn't drop too much until I went onto the chart and then noticed the wick. I'm like, oh, snap. Okay, that must have really caught a lot of people off because it's gone ahead, Sean, and tapped every single low on the range. Did I actually tap this? Yeah, it did. It took out this. It took out these guys right here. It took out these guys right here. It also took out these guys right here. Right. But more importantly, I think the biggest development on the XRP weekly time frame, which is what we've been looking at to keep us on the right side of this one, is that weekly dynamic support. Now, would I consider this lost? No, because we don't have a close underneath. I cannot tell you how important it is to have a to wait on the close. You know, it's one of those basic sort of foundational trading things that you learn, or rather that would often turn into your post-mortem report on your trades that you can then learn from. So when I was new as a trader, I used to sort of make trading decisions without waiting on the candle close, and I always used to get wrecked on it. So as far as the candle close is concerned, we do not have a close underneath just yet. Is this looking good? No, of course it's not, right? So for me, I'm honestly going to say this. This is a difficult one right now. If XRP in the next week, of course, can actually start clearing out $2.66, this needs a proper pick me up right here. Then okay, the bulls have a chance of taking back control. However, I'll say this. If I'm going to be looking at the lower time frames as well to see how price is performing on this zone. This is a very, very important zone. I cannot stress this enough. Okay, if we start seeing additional weakness, if I start seeing bear flags being formed on the $2.65, that's not going to be a good sign for the XRP bulls, at which point I'm actually going to consider shaving some off the table for myself. Okay. Am I still in position? Yes. Will I remain in position if I see further weakness on $2.65? No. I'm going to start taking some off. Which brings me to the whole, Bitcoin, that Bitcoin coming down to $100,000. While, yeah, it looks good on, that could happen. Do I want to see that happen? Quite honestly, no. Because if that happens, I don't think the altcoins are going to look very good relative to their key levels. I think they're going to end up breaking and probably seeing even further continuation. Could I be wrong? Of course, I could be wrong on this. But at the end of the day, you got to follow your systems. Now, for XRP, this has been one of the key systems that we have been following that's kept us on the right side of this entire cycle so far. Now, if I am rendered wrong, okay, on this entire thing, and prices do end up rallying, okay, I want to give you my mindset here. If, say, I see bear flags and I'm like, I don't like this price action, I'm getting out, I'm shaving some off the table. Okay. However, if I'm wrong on that, and what happens instead is prices end up rallying in my face, crazy volatility. We all know how XRP moves. If prices rally in my face, I will consider getting back my position, contingent that we clear out the weekly dynamic level, keeping it that simple. Okay. Contingent on us clearing the weekly dynamic level. Now, of course, I'm already giving you like an if this, then that, this is what I'm going to do without really getting the confirmation. I think the first step is to figure out if the weekly can actually see a pick me up here and even close anywhere near that $2.65 region. So that is one thing to note here. XRP has not lost, but is currently living underneath the weekly dynamic support that literally, guys, I'm just going to show it to you. I'm going to zoom out. Okay, going to knock off everything. It's kept us on the right side of this entire cycle so far. In fact, if you look at XRP relative to the weekly dynamic on all of the previous cycles, it's kept you on the right side of those cycles as well. Okay, so I'm going to follow the rules here. Going to follow the rules. Because ultimately, that's the only way you can quantify your wins, right? What worked? What did not work? Right? You got to follow the rules. That way you become a better trader and you get to sharpen your edge. You get to identify your edge and then make it better. Okay, trade it and make it better. Okay, I'm going to go through the comments. Now, Sean, what are your thoughts on XRP? Hey, where are you? Why aren't you in my chart? I like how he just like disappeared there. There we go. Did you do that, or did that actually just happen?
I don't know. XRP. I don't know, Kusha. I don't quite agree with you on XRP, but who am I? I mean, you've been.
No. Because I think right now, because I have a position, I might be a bit biased here, right? It could be fear, right? So given that you are sort of outside the XRP position, what do you think of this? Because I think you might be a lot more objective here.
My views on XRP haven't changed. I've been harping on this for a while now. I've been very confused as to why everyone is trying to force the lower time frames on XRP. The minimum time frame that you should be trading XRP on is the bi-weekly. It's very clear to me just looking at the chart over here that forcing the weekly on over here is just all of you just being impatient and emotional because you guys are trying to force trades on it. I've been saying this like for almost a year now, right? It's not something new, and it's just baffling to me. And I don't know why nobody wants to listen to me. Maybe because I don't know what I'm talking about. But it's very clear to me that you need to be trading XRP on the monthly, and the lowest time
The
frame you
monthly or the
should.
bi-weekly?
No, I'm just saying you should be trading it on monthly, and the lowest time frame you should be going towards is the bi-weekly. And I get that it might be difficult to wait for those opportunities, but it's been the cleanest and easiest way. And this thing has just been consolidating in a bull flag, and everyone's been getting shook out because they're forcing the low time frames on it. And eventually, it's
Yeah,
going to make a big move, and it's going to be a huge move to the upside, and it's going to be the same story all over again.
that's
Like
my thing.
if we close underneath the bi-weekly dynamic, I'll change my tune. I'm like, okay, this is coming down and coming down deep. But I think I'm more bullish than the XRP community, more bullish than even you, because I'm just looking at the right time frame. It's just that I'm bullish on a much larger duration. Like I'm looking further out than you guys, because again, the candles I'm looking at are bi-weekly candles, right? So I'm willing to wait longer. So I think this is the time frame you guys should be looking at. But hey, what do I know?
Fair enough. For those of you who want the levels on this, who want to follow on Sean's invalidations for XRP, the bi-weekly level comes in from $2.29 going down to $2.17, and I believe it was MC. Someone mentioned that we're getting a weekly close this week as well as a bi-weekly close. So you're going to get a lot of information just on this candle shortly, like in 2 days. But okay, I see what you're saying, Sean. Yeah. The thing that's the thing, right? When you've built your positions off of a certain level, you got to be careful, because then I feel like I could always just keep moving the time frame up on myself just to
Yeah, I get
stay
that.
in the trade, and
And
I don't want to do that, because that's just me getting to bad habits. If I start that with XRP, I'm going to make that excuse for all of the other positions, right?
yeah, that makes sense.
So maybe I could wait for like the confirmation. Like, what is confirmation on any chart? What is a confirmed break of a level? It's going to be 2 confirmed candle closes underneath that region of support or resistance, whatever it is that you're looking at. So we could wait on that for XRP, which would give me a bit more time to see if the weekly even holds. As far as the monthly is concerned, yeah, I think this is still within range,
Yeah,
right?
that makes sense, especially like Exponent in the chat. Grievous says exactly. He's right. Like it's not fair to change the time frame once you build your position of the weekly. And I want to couple that with the fact that you like to bid close to levels, right? You like to build your positions close to a level, and waiting for the bi-weekly would not have been all that ideal for you. So what you did instead was, I think, looking at 2 weekly closes underneath as opposed to 1 weekly close underneath the dynamic. Or are you looking at 1 weekly close
Yeah.
underneath the dynamic?
No, ideally I'd want to see 2, because I got punished, last
Right.
time when I
Yeah,
when
twice.
I acted on 1 weekly close,
Yeah.
I got punished big time here. Because on the 1 weekly close, I actually took some off. I basically sold a portion of my position, but I was forced to sort of get back in as soon as prices actually reclaimed that weekly dynamic
Yeah.
resistance, right? Because it was not, notice what happened here, right? It was not just the break of the weekly dynamic, but we also lost the $2 level. So there was a lot that went on there. So this time I don't want to make the same mistake. I'm going to take my own advice and waiting for confirmation. I jumped the gun there. So this time the confirmation, of course, always on any time frame, whatever it is that you're playing, 2 weekly closes. So, but now you have the levels. You have my analysis, which is hinge off the weekly dynamic. You have Sean's, which is he's basically saying bi-weekly. Look for the bi-weekly. Now, this is for those of you playing the macro trends on XRP, which we have been playing now for since November of last year, since the summer of last year, not even November. So yeah, these are the key levels to watch out for. Any questions on XRP before we move on to some of the other altcoins like SUI? But thank you for the objective view on XRP, Sean.
Hey,
I
you're
hadn't
welcome.
considered it. I had to like pause, right? But yeah, I cannot change the time frame on myself now. I'm in position. I'm just gonna have to be very vigilant of this. this.
I think we can do SUI now. MC says, what do we think about SUI over here, Sean? I do have some thoughts on SUI.
I'll just answer one question by Seth. He says, if XRP doesn't break above $2.66, where do you see it going? If it doesn't break above 266, this is coming down, right? We would then sort of, we're breaking weekly dynamic. I see this coming down at the very least. First stop is 218. Now, 218, we all know what comes off of 218. Sean just showed to you bi-weekly dynamic. But I feel like the line in the sand for XRP, if I'm being very honest with you guys, it's going to be $2. Breaking underneath $2 is end bull market for XRP. I'm keeping it that simple. For XRP's bull market and bear market initiation. Okay, $2 is still the level. Line in the sand.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is in line with that.
Go on. My bad.
What you just highlighted, right, Kusha, can be sharpened to the initial concept we talked about in the stream, and that it doesn't really matter. We're not trying to predict, or we shouldn't look to predict what price will do. Like XRP can be used as an example to that question, right? We shouldn't be looking to like, oh, I'm predicting XRP to bounce over here. But go back to the weekly, Kusha. So just with what you drew out here, you can wrap up that thesis with, okay, if XRP claims a weekly dynamic, I'm ultra bullish on XRP again. If it doesn't and loses those key levels I've marked out, then I know how I need to react. I need to be selling my position. I need to be looking to take profits. I need to be looking for shorts, et cetera, right? So how the market be, like, these are those key points, guys, those key junctures in that you don't act just yet and you don't try to forecast what happens just yet, but how the market reacts right now is going to give you the easiest decision on how you need to act moving forward, right? So that's what's important. This is a key moment for us. So we can do SUI now because this follows well into that. So
okay, shorts on
Exponent
this.
showed the dashboard just in the recent live stream in regards to SUI and asked me a question on this, and we talked about this, right? So based on how SUI looked, even leading into this dump, the dashboard was not all that promising at all, right? The dashboard was essentially pointing towards a down move on SUI. Did we expect a move this down? No. But based on what the dashboard was looking like, and us wanting to play the monthly trend, we were able to say, okay, there's no momentum trade on SUI. There's no momentum trade. So we cannot force a momentum trade on SUI. So what we do is nibble at the monthly levels, right? So go on over to SUI, Kusha. Now, this is where these moments, right, they tell you a lot about your thesis on an asset. As soon as the dump did happen, and we were talking about it in the Mango Seed private chat last night, I was first like, holy shit, it hit 50 cents, right? That is insane. Now, you don't want to see that happen, but at the same time, you kind of want to see that happen if you did have stink bids, right? Because you're instantly in profit. Your entire position turns into a profitable position, right? Because that's that's like a 350% move, I think, right? Should I just measure that?
I'll just measure
from the wick to up. No, like let's say you caught a bid somewhere around there. Like again, you're not going to catch it perfectly. How much? 380. Okay, so let's say you even caught 300% of that move or 150% of that move. That really sets you up. If you had a sink bid, provided you had a sink bid, that really sets your entire position into either a strong position or a profitable position right off the bat, right? Now, you kind of want a move like this to happen, but at the same time, you want to ask yourself this question: wait a minute, why is this asset so weak that it comes that low, right? And if it does come that low, what you do want to see, I don't want to say do, what you must see is a huge shadow, right? And by shadow, I'm talking about a wick, right? You want to see a huge wick. Basically, you want to see the market come in hungrily to pick up this asset that you were bullish on an opportunity. If you see a dump like this and the market does not pick it up like this, that is a sign for you to switch to a new asset. That is a sign for you to be like, okay, my asset is not as strong as I expected to be. Even though I was playing into weakness, like when we were playing into weakness, guys, on the lower time frames, we were still expecting the high time frames to show strength, right? And I'm talking about the monthly, the 3 month, etc., etc. If it failed even there, then your entire thesis is wrong, and you're just allocating to an asset that is weak across all time frames, even the high time frames, and you're better off just saying, okay, you know what, I'm going to be using this market dump to allocate to assets that are actually showing strength. And I'm sure there's going to be some coin on your portfolio that is showing strength, right? So you don't need to go and find a brand new coin. Sometimes you're forced to because all your coins are shit. And in that case, welcome to Mango. You're going to learn a lot on how to position on strong coins only. But if you're following Mango principles, there's going to be strong coins in your asset selection. So you just reallocate to those guys, right? You buy into strength that way by selling this weak asset that you just have found out is weak, right? So you were wrong. That's completely fine. But when this dump happened with Sui, I was already mentally thinking this dump was huge. I'm not expecting it to recover to the point where I'd be satisfied. Okay. That was my initial mindset because I don't have any fundamental bias to Sui. I don't know anything about its fundamentals, right? So I was already thinking, I don't think this is going to recover, right? Because let's switch on over to low time frames now, like the 1 hour or something. So I was mentally getting ready to switch to a different asset, right? I'd be glad to take this allocation, maybe deploy it into BNB, maybe deploy it into another asset I'm looking at. But look at that. Like, this is making it difficult to exit this entirely because clearly, there are people who came in and hungrily bought this up. Now,
yeah,
switching back on over to the bi-weekly, maybe, Kusha. This has already done more than enough to make me happy.
Yeah.
Right. If this bi-weekly closes like this, right?
This is amazing.
It's already done more than enough. Like and by the way, it was a tall order that Sui needed to achieve to make me consider I don't want to say consider holding on to it, but to make me happy, right? So this is done well enough to make me go like, okay, I'm going to be watching for the next bi-weekly now. Now, this is where things get really interesting. If we do see the next bi-weekly candle actually close green and close above the high of this bi-weekly candle, okay, the high, right? Yeah, Kusha, the high.
So basically, you're saying the next bi-weekly, which happens next week, if the next bi-weekly closes over the high,
above the high, yeah, so somewhere around
which
there,
comes in at around $3.72,
you're gonna see a lot of people be chasing this asset. Okay, people got shook out, and brand new interested traders as well, because that's going to be a beautiful freaking picture, a beautiful picture. And understand, by the way, guys, that when you see something like this and a hungry pickup like that followed, it is indicative of a market that was actually overpositioned and needed to see a shakeout like this for upside move, right? Where a lot of the traders that you'd want buying on a breakout were already in. This is from my experience, okay? When you see something like this, it is indicative of a market that everyone was positioned in it, expecting it to have a huge upside move. But because so many people are already positioned in it, the only way it does have its upside move is if you see something like this, where they all get shook out because either over leverage, fear, etc., right? So clearly, one of two things happened in Sui. People had tight stop losses because of fear, or they panic sold because of fear, or two, their positions were leveraged and they got liquidated, right? So now, if they have that same bullishness, their conviction is going to come from FOMO, right? Because the truly convicted will manage the positions not so tight, right?
Yeah.
So what ends up happening then is these guys become convicted on the second run around because of getting shook out, and they chase price higher, and then it becomes FOMO conviction. That's what you want to see now with Sui moving forward. But yeah, we can talk about that as things go. But yeah, overall, I'm liking what Sui has done. Does that mean I'm going to continue liking it? No, I reserve the right to change my opinion. I'm a trader after all. I know nothing about this asset, and if it does close up underneath that, let me give you guys a level on my chart. I'll switch to the biweekly too. Let's see. Oh, this is XRP. USDT.
This was a great segment, the Sui segment. I feel like Sean's given you a
Let's
lot
say
of
like
wisdom and a lot of lessons
242-ish.
in this one altcoin.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, 242-ish.
242?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Okay, let me mark that out.
Because guys, what you need to understand is that Sui has 20 days to close the monthly, right? And on the monthly, I'm looking at around 275, if I remember correctly, somewhere around there, right? So Sui has a lot of time to make this entire. In fact, it could close freaking monthly green at this juncture, and then you're just
Yeah.
looking at this through a completely different picture, right? So how do you manage a position leading into that monthly close? Because 20 days, a lot can happen, right? Well, we have these like touch points that we want Sui to hit to keep us happy. So this, it's already done enough now. Because in fact, if you switch on over to your weekly and flip on to the new dynamic where it has your bidding zones, you'll see that it's actually closing over the end bidding zone.
Yeah, the end bidding
Yeah.
comes in at $2.72, 71 cents.
Yeah.
And we're currently at $2.74. This was great. I love the set. I really, really love this segment. For those of you, I say this, guys, once the stream has ended, like the Sui segment, Sean has given you a lot of really good lessons, even in terms of how do you reposition on your allocations right now. I think that was a very important point that you made there, and people don't often really think about that, right? This is the show. This is where when the tide runs dry, that this is how you know which ones are left without their what's the saying? Without their pants on.
Without their swimsuits on, who's swimming
Yeah.
naked essentially.
Yeah, who's swimming naked essentially, right? This is going to show you which coins right now, which assets in your portfolio are weak. Right? You want to see a pick me up like this. You want to see the pick me ups on your lower time frames. The way the volatility that you saw it melt down with, right? You want to see that same volatility come in to pick it up, right? On these very time frames, like your lower time frames. It shouldn't be doubt. It should be something like this. It happened in a blink. It came down there, but there was not enough time for you to actually buy that dip. That's how it should be. That's how you know that there was strength on that pickup.
I think we can wrap up here on altcoins, Kusha, because they can use these ideas on all the altcoins. I have a few things that I want to cover in regards to my notes, and we're already 1 hour in. Isaac asked a question in the C chat that I do want to address because it might help everyone else, not just the seedlings.
Cool.
Now, seedlings are going to have the best way to address this problem because we have the Mango Risk Management indicator, the Mango Risk Management tool sheet, along with the Mango Risk Management module, right? So now not everyone has reached that module. I get it. And not everyone has access to the module because not everyone is in the Mango C program. But I've said this before and I'll say it again. Using the Mango Risk Management indicator and tool sheet and the strategy in there is literally, it's hacks. It's my entire strategy, guys. If you guys give me simply a coin that I have to flip, okay, and whether that coin, whether I go long or short is decided by that coin. Okay, so basically I'm going to be using a coin, okay, to decide my trades. I will out trade 95 to 99% of traders as long as I am allowed to use my risk management strategy. So I'm not allowed to use any indicators, okay? No indicators, nothing. Just give me a coin. Just give me a coin to make my trades, okay? I will out trade everyone as long as I'm allowed to use the Mango risk management module, Mango risk management indicator, Mango risk management strategy. That's how powerful that is. So if you guys are in the C program and you guys are not using this on your trade setups, okay, you guys are cheating yourselves out of a path to wealth, because crypto will make you wealthy as long as you survive all of this BS. Okay, and I've given you guys the holy grail of how to get there. Okay, your wealth and your profits are only going to be a consequence of your risk management, nothing else. You just have to focus on surviving and not losing, and all of your wealth will come as luck and consequence. Okay, so use it. Okay, now with that, I want to address Isaac's question. Isaac's question is, I'm going to try to get his entire question down because I just took a quick note. We'll pull it up in the C chat. He says here, how do you protect against these kind of wild drops? Alts have dropped around 80 to 90% and then recovered. But how do you protect in case of an event where they do not recover? So one of the key ideas that I really, really like to instill in you guys is that your invalidation and your stop loss are two different ideas. They're two different concepts and they should not be confused together. Okay. Now, often, I don't say often, there are going to be times where you can combine the two, where your invalidation and your stop loss are the same thing. Okay. But those are only in very, very specific situations where the low or the high are exactly where you don't want price reaching at all, and you're willing to just exit the market there and then, either because your trade is completely invalidated exactly at that point, or you're like, nope, I want liquidity, I want out instantly. Okay, that's completely fine. Okay. However, most of the time though, by default, your invalidation should be a different idea. Your stop loss should be a different idea. Your stop loss is account protecting. Your invalidation is you being wrong on the idea. So when Isaac asks, how do you protect against these wild drops? Well, your account protection stop loss should always be in place, where you are telling yourself, price has no business getting here. And if it does get here, my account is under threat and I want out of this position. Okay. Now, again, when you go through the entire risk management module and use the risk management indicator tool sheet, etc., we give you a proper methodology where you're not coming up with these numbers yourself, where to set your stop loss, where to set your invalidation, right? It is all part of the strategy. It's a long-term way where you're not guessing anything. Okay, you're not trying to figure out anything. All the decision fatigue is removed. That's why we can put it into a strategy, because it's a repetitive process, it's a repeatable process, right, over the long term. But for you guys watching and listening at home, understand that your invalidation needs to be different. Your stop loss is different. Your stop loss should be account protective. Now, to answer the next part of your question, how do you protect in case it doesn't recover? Well, if it doesn't recover, you're out of the trade, right, Isaac? And if you're out of the trade, good for you. Why the hell would you ever want to be in that asset? You should not be in an asset that does not recover. Look at what I talked about in regards to Sui, right? If Sui did not recover, I would have been out of the asset because clearly invalidated. If you are in an asset that, so another idea that we talked about quickly in the Grove chat today was being in assets that are low liquidity but have high upside, right? Like order books that are really, really, really thin. A lot of new traders tend towards these assets because they only think about the upside. They think about how this asset can 10x, this asset can 50x. And yeah, those are great, right? And then when you talk about the downside, they're like, yeah, of course, I'm going to have a stop loss. But often, assets that can 10x and 50x have no liquidity at all in the order books when you do want to exit. So what ends up happening is the only way you can play it safe is to have such a small position where it doesn't matter whether you 10x that asset, because a 20% move on a higher liquidity asset where you were able to position size a lot better is going to outperform your 10x, right? So what the hell does your 10x even really mean? So you know that intuitively. So what ends up happening is you initially put in a small position size to manage against the lack of liquidity, but then you end up building into a high position because the asset goes up, right? Asset goes up and you start dreaming about these are, by the way, the practical things about trading that nobody talks about on any other YouTube channel, because it's really doubtful that many of them even actually fucking trade. But this is what ends up happening. You get in a low position and you're managing against, you're smart enough because maybe you're watching Mango, maybe you're experienced, so you get a low position size and you see the asset go up, and then you start dreaming about all the upside, right? The 10x, the 100x that you can get, and you're like, damn, I don't have a position size though to manage against, to profit from this. Even if we do get up to these levels, and you increase your position size, and you increase it and increase it, and then boom, this event happens, and suddenly your stop loss doesn't matter because there's no liquidity. You can't sell into something that doesn't exist on the order books, right? So stop losses don't work there, right? So this is why I really urge you guys that once you reach a certain size, you're much better off being in an asset that has high liquidity and you putting on leverage, because at least you can get that massive win. You can still get that 10x or that 20x or that 50x by putting on some leverage, but being in an asset that has high liquidity, because you need to be thinking about, what if I'm wrong? You're better off being wrong on leverage on a higher market cap. I don't say high market cap because high market cap does not necessarily mean high liquidity. You're better off putting on leverage on an asset with liquidity in the order books that is high market cap, that has lower upside relative to this shitcoin that has high upside. But you are focused on, what if I'm wrong? If I'm wrong, I need to exit. Okay, if I need to exit, I need liquidity in the order books. Okay, I'm getting it over here. So you know what? I can make up the difference of the upside by putting on some leverage, right? So let's say you have an asset that can go up 10x, okay, but it has no liquidity in the order books. But now you find another asset that can go up only 3x, but has liquidity in the order books. Well, it is actually safer to put on 3x leverage and get your 9x, which is close to 10x, but then have the ability to exit very quickly when you need to. Your ability to exit trumps your upside, always. Okay? So that's how you protect yourself, by thinking about your exit always. So you're never in the situation where you are waiting and hoping for a 90% drawdown to recover.
This was an amazing question, and to which Sean just provided an amazing answer. Usually, you'd only learn this after making the mistake. So heed to this lesson, because I've been victim to this and it's costed me a lot. And also for people who are new, when it comes to the low liquidity altcoins, and you often get stuck in that as a novice, right? Where you see these coins, and it drives FOMO, like a lot of FOMO, in that you see these coins that have pumped 100%, 200%, 300%, 600%. You're like, damn it, why didn't I get into that? Like, look at that coin. Look at that coin. Right? And that drives FOMO. You go and look into these charts. You're only looking at price action. You're too fixated on price action that you completely forget about one of the key components of any asset, which is the liquidity on there. Who's trading? How many people are actually trading that asset? Because if it's only like a handful of people, very easy to push price up, right? So these are important things to look out for, the liquidity on these order books, because you could be buying in big positions on these things, but when time comes to sell, you are going to have to push the price down on yourself to be able to get rid of it. Okay, at that point, it's freaking moot.
Yeah, exactly. All right. I think we
Okay,
can
this
wrap
was
up here.
awesome. Yeah, we can. It's an hour and 20. Yeah, I will be attaching timestamps to this one. So heads up for those of you coming in right now looking for XRP. We covered XRP already. So once again, I will be attaching timestamps in the next half an hour or so. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in. For those of you who are not already in the Discord chat, join the Discord at themangoway.com/Discord. You're going to find it in the description. The birthday sale is still on until tomorrow. Tomorrow's the last day. Of course, you can use it on all the courses. The seed program, guys, over any of the indicators are great. But if I had to ask you, if I had to basically recommend to invest in anything, invest in your education always. Every indicator after that is just going to be that much more powerful for you. Okay, so the seed program, the sprouts program, and all of the indicators are on sale. Use the discount code, please. It is BDay2025. All right, so that is also attached in the description. But thank you all for tuning in today. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Do not panic. Sit tight, look for the opportunities, and yeah, with this, trade safely, trade stress-free, trade the mango way, trade the easy way. Chat, guys.
Cheers, guys. I'm so hungry. I'm so hungry.